Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam ajma'een. فقد نويت تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة وحث على تمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ودعا إلى هدى ودلالة على خير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاتي وقربي وثوابي سبحانه وتعالى. Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum. I am coming to you with our final soul fast in this series that we are doing for Ramadan. So last time, mashallah, we spoke about several diseases related to one another. Flattery, looking at people's defects, looking at fault finding, basically, and love of praise for what one does not do. We talked about love of praise for what one does not do, and so you can check back at the reel for that previous talk, as well as on the link in our description. However, today in our final Ramadan pep talk, we are looking at some diseases of the heart that really are crucial to our faith. One is ingratitude, nisyan and ni'mah. And so Sheikh Laraki al-Husseini, Allah have mercy on him, he's the author, he's the translator of this book, and he also comments on it, Murshid al-Mareen, the practical guidebook. However, he translates nisyan and ni'mah as ingratitude, which is what it is. But I do see a ni'mah, you guys can probably catch that too. It also means gifts. So it's not just ingratitude, it's also being to forget gifts, to forget gifts. So when we forget gifts, that is a form of kufr. And I was just listening to a talk by Sheikh Hamza Yusuf on this, the blessing of gratitude. And we know Allah tells us, if you are thankful, I will give you more. And then he goes on to say, وَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ, which is almost like saying in the same verse, the opposite. And if you disbelieve. So on one hand, we have shukr, and then we have kufr. So gratitude is paramount in this faith when we do not recognize, we don't remember, because remembrance is key. We may even know we have blessings. We may be aware that not everybody has access to clean water. We may be aware that not everyone has a shelter, or not everyone has cooling systems or heating systems, or even breath, like they're on their last breaths. Maybe not everyone is aware of love of Allah. These are all gifts that we can forget. So we want to be very intentional about tracking what we are grateful for in the morning. You have to write it down. It is a game changer, brothers and sisters. Like I promise you, there have been studies that show how people who are depressed, when they start to write regularly 10 things they're grateful for, that a majority of them decrease in depression. So Allah tells us to be grateful, not because he needs our thanks. Allah doesn't need our gratitude, but it's for our own souls. And then again, the opposite is kufr. We have to be thankful. So that's one disease of the heart that is really great to focus on for today, fasting from ingratitude. The other disease is fanaticism, hamiyah. Fanaticism can be tricky because many people think that they're moderate. Everybody thinks they're balanced, right? Nobody thinks they're imbalanced. But it is very easy to fall into fanaticism when we're looking at the creation rather than the creator, when we're focused on others rather than our own soul. And that is the only thing, again, that Allah will question us on, is our own soul. And even with our own soul, we can be very harsh, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But we just want to be careful of fanaticism, which is just being extreme. This deen is a very great thing. So we're taught to tread lightly, to take things step by step. And that the shaitan gets us by two ways. He'll either get us to do too little or too much. So just always use the touchstone of khairul amur al-awsat. The best of affairs are in the middle. Practical example, if you are, you want to start tahajjud, you want to pray the night prayer, don't just, plan to stay up all night and do qiyam al-layl the first go. Maybe just make the intention, right before fajr, 30 minutes before fajr, you're going to get up and then you're going to pray, 2 rakat. something simple, so that you're not going to extremes and then beating yourself up when you do fail, because we will fail. So, eventually that happens. We make mistakes. So, mashallah, that is another disease to be careful of, is fanaticism. And last but not least is fearing and hoping for other than Allah, ar-raghba wa ar-rahba li ghayrillah. So fearing and hoping for other than Allah, mashallah, we said that, I was relaying what my teacher told me about Sheikh Laraki. He told us how love of leadership and love of the dunya, hubb dunya, are the two diseases, the root of all diseases. We can also make the case that fearing and hoping for other than Allah is the root of all diseases. And let me know if you disagree or have something to add to that. But it really does come down to that. When we're focused on Allah, when we're only fearing and hoping for Allah, then where does competing for dunya come into that? Where does arrogance come into that? It's very hard to be arrogant or to be, angry or jealous or boast when we are keeping our focus on the Most High and we are always turning back to Allah in situations. So that is also a big disease of the heart, that if we can eliminate from our lives and we can only fear and hope for Allah, we will have sound hearts. And the conclusion for these diseases, the verse in Surah Al-Yusuf, Inna nafs al-ammara bisu, when we remember the wife of the king said that eventually when Sayyidina Yusuf was released, that truly the nafs inspires only to evil. And this is a reality, that we are human, we are not perfect, and the nafs, our soul, is going to give us thoughts constantly. It doesn't even have to be the shaitan. It can be our own ego that gives us things that they aren't always evil, but sometimes, many times, they will be. And this is a part of the human experience, that we're told there is no cure except to turn to Allah out of deep need in order to defeat the nafs, oppose its whims, and direct it to obedience, because the nature of the nafs is disobedience. Okay, and there's a difference of opinion, like most things, about the true nature of our fitra, of our soul, of our state. Some could say babies, they say either it's neutral or it's good, that we're inclined towards good as Muslims. However, as we get older and mature and we're in the dunya, we're going to incline towards disobedience. There's a difference of opinion about that, but that bottom line, the nafs will at some point inspire us to evil. And so we have, being aware of that, alhamdulillah, congratulations, you're on your way to being protected from it, because knowledge is power and ignorance can be bliss. People may not know and they may be happy, but you're not going to be happy when this life speeds by and then Allah's our records are not showing what we were hoping for. So to be aware that this is something that's going to happen, we can then protect ourselves and do things and take our deen and take our spirituality seriously, so that we're protected and we're not unaware, like inadvertently or mistakenly taking missteps, being ungrateful, etc. So those are the diseases that are listed here, and mashallah, these are definitely worth reviewing on your own. As was mentioned previously, I recommend that you not only look at these, but also the praiseworthy states that are talked about in the introduction to Tasawwuf, the Guide to Gnosis, by getting this book. And the whole thing is worth reading, inshallah. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free. And otherwise, I pray that Allah blesses our last 10 nights and make them nights of nur and khair and barakah, all good things, light, good, and just divine favor, divine grace, freedom from the fire, and intimate conversation with Allah, intimate communion, that we are able to eliminate distractions so that we can really establish our spirituality for the coming year, future programming. I pray that you have success on these last fasts, these last soul fasts, as well as the mandatory fasts. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.